All right, so let's get going. Happy Monday, April 5th. Darn, April's already well into gear. So just a reminder, like I've already told y'all, let me say it again for our video. Tomorrow and Thursday are asynchronous, all your classes. There's STAR testing on campus for freshmen on Tuesday, for sophomores on Thursday, and of course for people that did not pass it before that need to take it again. So no live classes or live students. Stay home unless you're testing, and you should know by now if you're testing. We will focus on reading and imagination. We use riddle skills and focus on the details and connection. And for our close, well, how can your beliefs affect your performance? And we talk about this plenty in this class. Those of us in the class, if you're on your phone, please put it aside. I know it's just a habit. Thank you. How can your beliefs affect your performance? And we talk about this all the time in class, but it was interesting. I read this article over the weekend, and I was like, this is really cool. It really gets me thinking, because I talk about on a mental level, right? Like, yes, I love reading, I love writing, and we mentally build ourselves. Grab a copy of the article, Miha. We mentally teach ourselves to think better, but I never really thought about that it could make a difference on a physical level too. And the article we're about to read talks about how, once again, how your beliefs affect you. And I thought it was really cool. So we're going to be looking at that. Before we do anything else, though, let's do our positive affirmations so we can tell ourselves what to think and what to believe. Let's be positive on purpose. In the classroom, come on, let me see that thumb up. What are you? Strong, confident, and successful. Yes, we are. And how do we feel about getting work done? I love getting work done. And how do we feel about schoolwork? The harder I work, the stronger I become. Yep, it does make a difference. Thank you. And if we go into Schoology, and I think I have 4 or 5 students that need to do the retesting on tomorrow or Thursday. You should know who you are. I also sent you an email on this, but if you need that extra STAR practice, you can click here for STAR practice, and you can take the practice on Socrative, the way we've done quizzes, and you can see immediately if you've got them right or wrong. Also, using the testing program, you can click there and it'll open up like the actual testing environment you'll be using on campus, and you can practice with that. So tomorrow and Thursday, if you haven't already, you'll know what to do and how to do it. So these are the click here for the readings, and then to go to Socrative, and you can take it Carvajal 1, 2, or 3, depending on what you want to do, revising, editing, and reading. Those are available for you if you need to be testing this week. And I've sent these to you before, but just as another reminder. But let's go into today's work, Monday's work. After reading the article, how do you think your beliefs can affect your performance? And I don't mean just mental, like I love writing, but actual physical. And I've had several students tell me, oh, before my race, before my tennis match, I started saying my positive affirmations, and they really help. So be thinking about that as well. So if you click here, you can open up the document. And as usual, read the first half together. You read the second half on your own. And then we can take a little time to discuss what we've noticed, what stood out to us. And of course, we're going to use our imagination and read like that. So I'll give you all a minute to get your own copies open, and then you will take over after I've read the first half. Everybody have a copy? Okay, good. All right, let's get started. How my son's black belt reveals the biggest scientific error. Why everything you know may be wrong. And this is from Psychology Today, from March 15th, 2021. After an 11-year effort, My 15-year-old son earned his black belt in mixed martial arts yesterday. My wife and I are so very proud of him. In his 5-month-long black belt exam, he showed his amazing strength, flexibility, and skill, and even more, his persistence and heart. He also revealed the biggest scientific error at loose in the world today. It's an error so fundamental and pervasive that it's hard to wrap one's head around. Most readers will not believe it, and I am braced for the angry comments I may get. Yet what I will say has been scientifically established for nearly a century. But first, my son. My wife and I began to realize something was wrong in early preschool. Stevie could not do what other kids could do. He couldn't throw or catch or kick or climb. His hands got tired in minutes if he tried to draw. He could not hold a knife or fork. In preschool, no one would pick him for team games at recess. Kids groaned when he eventually was. We put him into mixed martial arts, figuring at least he'd be compared to his own baseline. He came under the influence of a wonderful teacher there, Michelle Clancy, who was kind and inspiring. Right before first grade, his pediatrician referred him for an evaluation. On standardized tests, his physical skills were those of someone less than half his age. Moderate hypotonia, the report said. It was genetic. Yes, with difficulty he could improve, but he'd never be good at anything physical. When my son later joined the Black Belt Club, we smiled and were supportive, but words echoed silently inside our heads, like genetic and never. When Michelle created her own Dojo Reno 3.5 years ago, we were among the first to sign on. He was getting better, but black belt dreams still seemed remote. Put aside skills, how about the physical standards he'd need to meet? 50 nose-kissing push-ups. How? A timed 2-mile run and push-up combination I myself could never have done. Not likely. Enter Max McManus, a friend of Michelle's. Max is Olympic gold medalist David Wise's conditioning coach. Max agreed to work with Stevie. I told Max the story of his diagnosis and history. He listened respectfully. "We don't care about that," he said with an air of finality. "Let's see what he can do." His sessions were creative, focused, long, unusual. For me, as a psychologist, I found the workouts fascinating. He'd describe a challenge, then pause as if changing his mind. "Stevie, I'm not sure you can do that," he'd say, with an almost unnoticeable twinkle in his eye. Emotion now properly engaged, Stevie would answer, "I think I can." And then he'd give 110% to an exercise I'd never seen before. "This is probably too much," Max would say. "Well, let me try," would be the retort, as he did some bizarre combination of strength and balance that Max seemingly made up on the spot. It wasn't just Stevie's muscles Max was training, it was his mental engagement, excitement, and motivation. In 2 weeks, Stevie was showing strength and stamina beyond anything we'd ever seen before. His adolescent growth spurt hit, and a cycle of self-confidence and barrier-busting effort set in. Now, years later, he's done those push-ups, made those runs, and passed that months-long set of qualifying exams. Now, years later, his speed, kicking and punching strength are almost frightening. And as of that fine day called yesterday, our sweet little boy, now grown up, has a black belt in mixed martial arts. We are so very proud of him. Here is the error. Since 1931, when it was first proven in physics, we've known you cannot properly predict the trajectory of an individual on the basis of averages and variations within groups of individuals. It's mathematically illegitimate, except under a few extraordinary circumstances that apply to no living things. Indeed, they apply to a very small list of inanimate things, like a few noble gases. The proof is called the ergodic theorem. Virtually all our concepts about human abilities, tendencies, and qualities contain the ergodic error and the falsehoods that come along with it. Physical strength, intelligence, personality, mental disorders, learning disabilities, talent, creativity, even the needlessly crude ways we think of genetics or trauma or injury or motivation, all statistically illegitimate. And the vast majority of psychological scientific methods that give us such concepts, psychometrics, randomized trials, mediation, standardized testing, all misguided. Human development is ideographic, first, and nomothetic, second. Humans are complex evolving networks, and no one thing makes sense except in context over time to within person variation. Yes, your genome matters, but it plays out individually in context and interacting with blah, developmental history, environment, behavior, and culture. So too with every human trait. All right, so go ahead and finish reading on your own, find out what they have to say. There's not much left. And then in the discussion, think about that. Think about what you believe and how it affects what you can do. And we'll put something in there. We'll talk in a little while.